The vermilion bird patriarch's gaze was dark and grim. With his right hand forming a seal, he drew a strange symbol in the air in front of him. As soon as the symbol appeared, a tremendous aura enveloped his entire body. At this moment, the flying sword descended. Boom! A sound that shook the heavens and reverberated through the entire vermilion bird continent suddenly rang out. The vermilion bird patriarch's body shot backward like a falling star, retreating rapidly. The symbol in front of him shattered and vanished. Though his body wasn't harmed, his face had turned pale. In the previous graceful aura he had vanished completely. The 9 flying swords disappeared, transforming back into souls, which scattered and spread throughout the heavens and earth. Dun Tian watched the scene before him and bitterly said, "Vermilion Bird Mystic Seal." The Vermilion Bird Mystic Seal was a divine art that only the Vermilion Bird Patriarch of each generation could learn. This technique wasn't something cultivated but was realized by each Vermilion Bird Patriarch from the relics of the previous Vermilion Bird found in the tomb of the first Vermilion Bird. This seal was not created by the first Vermilion Bird but was granted by the Cultivation Alliance after the Vermilion Bird sect became a 6th-grade cultivation nation. The Vermilion Bird Mystic Seal does not enhance cultivation through training. However, it possesses incredibly powerful and mysterious abilities. The seal consists of 2 forms, one for attack and one for defense. The attack form is said to be invincible, while the defensive form is even stronger than the Vermilion Bird Mirage formation, capable of protecting a person more effectively. No one knows how the Cultivation Alliance created this technique, but each generation of Vermilion Bird Patriarchs is limited to mastering it. Once a person masters it, no one else can learn it, not even the previous generation of Vermilion Bird Patriarchs. If a new Patriarch takes control of the seal, the previous one loses its power. Rumors say that using the Vermilion Bird Seal causes some form of toll, but the exact nature of the cost is only known by those who have mastered it. The technique that the Vermilion Bird Patriarch just used was the defensive form. As the clouds dispersed, Dun Tian's face turned pale. He stared at the Vermilion Bird Patriarch and suddenly burst into laughter. "Before my lifespan ends, it's satisfying to see you, old thief, in such a pitiful state." The Vermilion Bird Patriarch's expression darkened as he gasped for breath. He had no intention of using the Vermilion Bird Mystic Seal unless absolutely necessary, especially the attack form, which he was reluctant to use. He needed to remain at his peak to fight the Immortal Remnant clan. Dun Tian, your soul-refining sect was originally part of the Vermilion Bird lineage. Tens of thousands of years ago, your sect's ancestor fought alongside the first Vermilion Bird against the Immortal Remnant clan. Why must you be so stubborn today? Hand over the soul banner, and I'll help rebuild your sect, recruit disciples anew, and even establish a country for the soul-refining sect. Dun Tian's eyes flickered as he grinned. Vermilion Bird, old thief, I figured it out. You're afraid of being injured. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in such a sorry state. The battle with the Immortal Remnant clan has already begun, and you're not at the front lines. You're here, but you won't be able to stay much longer. The Vermilion Bird Patriarch's brows furrowed as he coldly said, though the 11th generation ancestor of the Immortal Remnant clan is powerful, I still have one last trump card. Once I unleash it, the Immortal Remnant clan will be doomed. Dun Tian, I'll ask you one last time, will you hand over the soul banner or not? A cold glint flashed in Dun Tian's eyes. He took a deep breath and, with a wave of his right hand, the billion soul banner immediately flickered with a faint purple-gold light. The light shifted between bright and dim. Vermilion Bird, old thief, I suggest you leave quickly. Don't force me to use my 4th soul. Though the Vermilion Bird Patriarch's expression was grim, his heart was filled with a cold sneer. He had come here today specifically waiting for the 4th soul to appear. Compared to the soul banner, what he truly sought was the 4th soul. Each generation of Vermilion Bird Patriarchs had secretly studied the 4th soul within the soul banner, trying various methods to break it. The Vermilion Bird Patriarch had now gained about 80% confidence in succeeding, which is why he came here today. After a moment of silence, the Vermilion Bird Patriarch slowly said, I've only read about the power of the 4th soul in the ancient texts. I've never seen it in action. Today, I'll take this opportunity to see for myself what kind of divine power the 4th soul truly possesses. Dun Tian gritted his teeth. He placed his left hand on his forehead, producing a ball of crystal-clear white light, which he quickly pressed onto the soul banner. In an instant, the soul banner trembled violently, and the faint purple-gold light on it floated away. The human body is divided into 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Between heaven and earth, these 5 elements interact and create different spiritual roots. If one possesses one, they can cultivate immortality. If 2, they are intelligent. If 3, they are gifted. If 4, they are peerless. If 5, they achieve perfection. It is rare for a person to possess 2 of the same attribute, rarer still to possess 3, and unheard of to possess 4. However, to possess 5 of the same attribute is unique. This 4th soul represents someone who possesses 3 of the same attribute. This person did not display the power of their attribute during their lifetime and died in the late infant metamorphosis stage like an ordinary person. However, after death, they were refined by the soul-refining sect using secret methods, transforming into an unparalleled 4th soul that could threaten late-stage cultivators. To capture this soul requires immense willpower, and it can only be unlocked when one's lifespan nears its end. The words from the ancient text of Vermilion Bird Mountain flashed in the Vermilion Bird Patriarch's mind. 3 gold souls. The Vermilion Bird Patriarch spoke in a deep voice. Duntian let out a hoarse laugh. His eyes were dim and lifeless. The last bit of his lifespan had just been drained, used as a sacrifice to activate the 4th soul. The 4th soul could not be activated by ordinary means. It required the offering of one's lifespan to summon it from the soul banner. As soon as the 4th soul was released, a blinding flash of purple-gold light appeared. Within the light, there was only one object, a needle-like shape, thin and delicate. The needle was not large, only about the length of a thumb, but it emanated an aura of extreme sharpness, far more intense than even the Vermilion Bird Sword. The 3 gold souls were said to be the toughest substances in the world, capable of piercing through any material. The soul energy within them could even harm the nascent soul. Duntian's gaze flashed, and he whispered, 4th soul, kill. The purple-gold needle vanished in a blink of an eye. The Vermilion Bird Patriarch's expression changed. He immediately retreated, summoning the Vermilion Bird Sword with a swift motion. The sword appeared in front of him like lightning. When it clashed with the needle, there was a loud clang. The sword trembled, and a tiny needle mark appeared on its blade. At the same time, the Vermilion Bird Patriarch roared, extending his right hand, and his entire body surged with spiritual energy, gathering it around him. He then flicked his hand violently. With a loud bang, the Patriarch staggered back 3 steps. The purple-gold light flashed again, vanishing without a trace. But the Vermilion Bird Patriarch knew the 4th soul was still nearby. His expression darkened as he spoke in a cold voice. The 4th soul is indeed powerful. But Duntian, if you had reached the early stage of Tao Ascendancy, using transcendent power beyond the infant metamorphosis stage to accelerate the 4th soul's speed, unleashing its invincible power, I, the Vermilion Bird Patriarch, would have turned and left without a word. But now, to try and kill me with this 4th soul, it's still too slow. There was a deeper meaning behind the Patriarch's words. His true goal was not to obtain the 4th soul now, but to take it later, when it had absorbed enough souls from the soul banner, making it far more powerful than it was now. Indeed, in terms of scheming, Duntian was no match for the Vermilion Bird. The old saying was true, the wise emperor is the one who knows the mind of his opponent. Duntian could not anticipate the Vermilion Bird's thoughts. It was no surprise. After all, the 4th soul had been coveted by generations of Vermilion Bird Patriarchs, who had tried every method to capture it. Duntian's eyes narrowed as he fixed his gaze on the Vermilion Bird Patriarch. With a wave of his right hand, several points of light appeared in the air, and the surrounding souls shattered one after another. The process of their destruction was eerie. If one looked closely, they would see a flicker of purple light, and with it, a soul would shatter. This process was incredibly fast, and in the blink of an eye, a number of souls vanished. Gradually, the speed of the purple light increased, and it soon became a single, continuous purple thread. Countless souls were absorbed by it. At this moment, Duntian had no time to feel sorrow for the loss of souls. The Vermilion Bird Patriarch's eyes gleamed with determination. He was about to step forward when suddenly his movement stopped. He slapped his right hand in front of him, and he immediately retreated. A small puncture wound appeared on his palm, the needle piercing through his entire hand. A trickle of blood seeped from the wound. At that moment, several souls shattered. When 10 nascent souls were devoured by the 4th soul, the purple-gold light was moving at an unbelievable speed. Duntian was in immense pain. 1/3 of the billion souls he had accumulated over time had been consumed by the 4th soul in such a short period. 10 of his primary souls were also lost. This kind of damage had not occurred in tens of thousands of years. He took a deep breath and shouted, "Fourth soul, stop." The purple gold light froze, buzzing with energy. Then, with a flash, it charged toward the Vermilion Bird Patriarch. The Vermilion Bird Patriarch sighed inwardly. His plan had been to let the fourth soul absorb all the souls, and then use the methods of past Vermilion Bird Patriarchs to capture it. But now that Dun Tian had halted the absorption, he couldn't reveal his plan, or it would be exposed. The Vermilion Bird Patriarch continued to retreat, his hands moving rapidly in front of him, but the constant sound of collisions echoed as he fell back faster and faster. Wounds appeared all over his body, like puncture marks, and blood began to flow. With each new needle-sized wound, his face darkened, and his breath weakened. However, on the fourth soul, there was a faint trace of his strange blood, slowly blending into it. A cold glint flashed in the Vermilion Bird Patriarch's eyes. He slapped his storage pouch, and several palm-sized red bottles appeared in his hands. He performed a series of hand seals and spoke, "Refine." As soon as the word left his mouth, a burst of white flame erupted from the small bottles. In the blink of an eye, 100-meter radius around him was engulfed in flames. The heat from the flames was even more intense than the Vermilion Bird's feathers from before. "Let's see whether your 3 gold souls are sharper, or whether the flame from my immortal treasure fire gourd is more powerful. I will refine this fourth soul until it is no more." Within the sea of flames, the purple gold light flickered and turned red. However, it did not melt away. Instead, the trace of the Vermilion Bird Patriarch's blood was slowly and silently absorbed into the fourth soul. At this moment, the fourth soul rapidly spun, gradually forming a vortex that blew a gap through the surrounding sea of flames. "Soul, escape!" Dun Tian shouted, and in a flash, the purple gold needle vanished, shooting towards the Vermilion Bird Patriarch. The Vermilion Bird Patriarch's gaze flickered, and a trace of delight appeared on his face. He laughed heartily and said, "Dun Tian, since you are unwilling to hand over this soul banner, I won't force you. But this fourth soul, I must take it." He slapped his storage pouch, and a chunk of black mud, about the size of a palm, appeared in his hand. He bit his tongue, spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood that fell onto the black mud. Immediately, a stream of black smoke rose from it. The Vermilion Bird Patriarch circled his right hand in the air, guiding the smoke as he quickly drew several strokes in the air, forming an eerie symbol. "I, in the name of the Vermilion Bird Patriarch, sacrifice 9/10 of my remaining lifespan to open the Star Cultivation Core. I will invoke the stasis concept granted by the Cultivation Alliance in an instant." He pointed forward with his right hand, and immediately, the symbol made of black smoke flashed and shot toward the empty space 3 feet in front of him, vanishing swiftly. In that instant, everything within a 100-meter radius froze, immobilized. At the spot where the symbol had disappeared, a flash of purple gold light appeared, and the fourth soul emerged. The Vermilion Bird Patriarch reached out with his hand and immediately grasped the fourth soul. At that moment, time resumed. The Vermilion Bird Patriarch took a step forward, a sinister grin spreading across his face as he lunged at Dun Tian. Dun Tian sighed inwardly, bitterly glancing back at the cave's forbidden ground that had been turned to ash by the previous flames, then closed his eyes. However, just as the Vermilion Bird Patriarch's hand was about to grab him, an eerie laugh echoed from the place where Wang Lin had previously been in closed-door meditation. "Get lost." The Vermilion Bird Patriarch's face changed dramatically, his divine sense pierced with pain. For the first time since becoming the Vermilion Bird Patriarch, he was filled with terror. In the center of the black mist, numerous members of the Immortal Remnant clan were sitting cross-legged, chanting strange incantations. They activated the rune power within their bodies, causing the runes to leave their bodies and rapidly gather together, swirling around them at high speed. The speed was astonishing, with circles of energy spiraling upwards. Every 2 hours, the rune power within these Immortal Remnant clan members would be exhausted. Afterward, a new group would step forward, continuing the incantation. This process lasted for months, and on one particular day, a middle-aged man from the Immortal Remnant clan, dressed in gray robes, stood watching the vast number of his clansmen in the center. His gaze revealed a hint of contemplation. This man bore no visible runes on his body, except for a purple leaf-shaped mark on the left side of his cheek, which flickered with purple light from time to time. Behind him stood 3 elders, their auras matching that of the 8-leaf hunchbacked elder who had once hunted Wang Lin. "Fifth ancestor, the time has come." The ancestral spirit tree has also been activated by the 4th ancestor, one of the elders said respectfully. The middle-aged man nodded slightly and said, "The ancestral spirit tree was created by the void ancestor sacrificing his life and breaking the five-sword seal to release it. This mission must not fail, for ancestral spirit trees will surround the Vermilion Bird continent. This time, the Vermilion Bird Kingdom will be destroyed for sure." The elder's eyes gleamed with excitement, but he hesitated for a moment and added, "Fifth ancestor, as for the second ancestor." The middle-aged man furrowed his brows and replied, "Do not concern yourselves with him. He has been in the Vermilion Bird Kingdom too long, and his thoughts differ from ours. If it weren't for his interference, the war from a few years ago would have completely wiped out the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. I don't believe the star cultivation crystal from the Vermilion Bird Kingdom has the power he claims." The elder nodded in agreement and remained silent. "The Corpsine sect is here." The middle-aged man turned and gazed into the distance. To the east of the Vermilion Bird continent, a massive coffin, dozens of yards long, sped rapidly toward them. 3 figures sat atop the coffin, all with white hair. The one at the forefront had reached the early infant metamorphosis stage, while the other 2 were at the late spirit transformation stage. The coffin's speed was incredible, and in the blink of an eye, it arrived at the edge of the black mist. Several runes flashed within the mist, creating a resistance that stopped the coffin from advancing. The elderly man from the Corpsine sect, in the early infant metamorphosis stage, glanced at the obstruction, then spoke calmly, "I am the Vermilion Bird Star Elder of the Corpsine sect. These 2 are the Corpse Guardians. I request that the Immortal Remnant clan open the rune formation." The runes inside the black mist flashed again, opening a passage, and the massive coffin from the Corpsine sect swiftly entered. At the center of the black mist, the coffin stopped. The elderly man in the early infant metamorphosis stage jumped off the coffin and landed on the ground. Before him stood the middle-aged man and the 3 8-leaf spell curse masters. "Elder Sima, we've been waiting for you," the middle-aged man said in a calm tone. Elder Sima from the Corpsine sect laughed heartily and replied, "I encountered some obstruction along the way, so I arrived a bit late. I'm here not only to deliver this corpse but also to tell the Immortal Remnant clan something." The middle-aged man's gaze was calm as he looked at Elder Sima, waiting for him to continue. Vermilion Bird Patriarch went to the Soul Refining sect, battling the Dun Tion Old Demon, intending to seize the Billion Soul Banner. The Corpsine sect elder's gaze flickered as he spoke with a smile that was neither a smile nor a sneer. The middle-aged man maintained a calm expression and smiled. "What was the result? We don't know yet. However, based on our understanding of the Vermilion Bird Patriarch, he never does anything without confidence. I'd say he has at least an 80% chance of success. You Immortal Remnant clan should be cautious." The Corpsine sect elder laughed heartily. The middle-aged man showed no sign of surprise, smiling slightly as he was about to speak. Suddenly, his expression changed drastically. He looked up sharply, his gaze directed toward the northern part of the Vermilion Bird continent, towards the Pilla Kingdom. There, he sensed an aura that made him tremble with fear. The sting of the essence spirit. This sensation, the Vermilion Bird Patriarch had long since forgotten, but at this moment, it was as if he had returned to the time before he became the Vermilion Bird. Facing the previous generation's Vermilion Bird, it was the same terrifying sensation as standing before the might of the heavens. "Who are you?" Despite his shock, the Vermilion Bird Patriarch, having once held a high position, quickly suppressed his emotions, his face turning solemn as he spoke. A flash of 7-colored light appeared, and Wang Lin's figure materialized in midair. His long hair billowed without wind, exuding an incredibly eerie aura. A deep blue halo surrounded his body, emanating an extreme chill capable of freezing the very heavens and earth. At this moment, Wang Lin was completely naked, his skin glowing with a translucent sheen, especially his eyes, which were no longer the sharp contrast of black and white but now contained a sinister energy. Qian Feng's eyes also held a trace of this sinister energy, but compared to Wang Lin at this moment, his were like the full moon compared to a firefly, insignificant. In Wang Lin's eyes, the sinister energy only meant one thing: madness. Madness, wild, extreme madness, an arrogance that declared oneself the supreme ruler of heaven and earth, with no regard for anyone else, an unrestrained and lawless wildness. He casually glanced at the Vermilion Bird Patriarch. That gaze was brighter than lightning, several times over. The Vermilion Bird Patriarch trembled. At that moment, it was as if he had truly returned to his past, facing the previous generation's Vermilion Bird. The shock in his heart was so strong that his legs involuntarily retreated several steps. For the first time in many years, cold sweat beaded on his forehead. You are Wang Lin? No, you're not Wang Lin. Who are you, really? The vermilion bird patriarch took a deep breath, his eyes showing deep horror. I ask you, which generation of vermilion bird are you? Wang Lin's words, filled with a fierce arrogance, echoed. His tone carried an unmistakable demand for an answer. Dun Tian stared blankly at the scene before him. He looked at Wang Lin and felt a deep sense of unfamiliarity. Although he had interacted with Wang Lin for some time, he immediately noticed that the person in front of him was definitely not Wang Lin. Wang Lin would never exude such a terrifying aura, one of arrogance and lawlessness. This kind of aura could only belong to those ancient monsters who had cultivated for countless years. The vermilion bird patriarch wanted to remain silent, but at this moment, he involuntarily spoke, 14th generation vermilion bird. Previously written as the 8th generation, this was a mistake, later corrected. Wang Lin remained silent for a moment, coldly sweeping his gaze over the vermilion bird patriarch. For Yiwuyo's sake, I won't kill you today. Leave. Yiwuyo. Dun Tian was startled. This name was unfamiliar to him, something he had never heard before. But for the vermilion bird patriarch, hearing that name caused his expression to change drastically. His body immediately retreated several steps, his shock evident on his face. You. The vermilion bird patriarch inhaled sharply, as though struck by a lightning bolt. His body trembled involuntarily, and his gaze toward Wang Lin was no longer merely one of shock but was now filled with deep fear. Yiwuyo, the name known only to the generations of vermilion birds across the ages. Outsiders could never know it. Even the ancestors of other sects from back in the day never knew this name, only knowing that there was someone whose Taoist title was Vermilion Bird Patriarch. Yiwuyo was the name of the first vermilion bird. The vermilion bird patriarch looked at the expanding blue light rings around Wang Lin's body, and the legacy of the vermilion birds echoed in his mind. Eventually, he locked onto a single identity. At this moment, the vermilion bird patriarch's fear intensified. He hesitated for no longer than a breath before he immediately bowed respectfully to Wang Lin, his voice bitter. I greet the ancestor. I will leave now. With that, he quickly retreated. Dun Tian's eyes flashed with a sharp glint. He immediately shouted, leave the fourth prime soul behind. The vermilion bird patriarch paused, his eyes revealing signs of struggle. He abruptly turned around to look at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes showed a fleeting trace of nostalgia and melancholy as he spoke. Yiwuyo did a great favor for me back in the day. Fine, if you need this fourth prime soul to fight against the immortal remnant clan, I'll lend it to you for 3 years. But after that, give it back to me. Dun Tian was about to speak in a hurry when his gaze met Wang Lin's. Instantly, his words were choked off. From that look, he could sense nothing of Wang Lin's intentions, only a cold, unfamiliar aura, as if any further words from him would lead to his immediate annihilation. Dun Tian's heart skipped a beat, and he dared not speak again. Jikazi sighed in relief. If the other party had forcibly demanded the fourth soul, he honestly didn't know what he would have chosen. A fight might have been inevitable, but facing the legendary figure in front of him, he had no confidence whatsoever. Jikazi cupped his hands and was about to leave. A flash of defiance appeared in Wang Lin's eyes as he sneered. Since you figured out my identity, you must also know my rules. Are you really just going to leave like this? Jikazi remained silent. He raised his right hand, and with a swipe of his left, 2 fingers fell off, blood gushing out. Looking at Wang Lin, he said, this matter is my negligence. Are these 2 fingers enough? Wang Lin shook his head and arrogantly said, leave one more. Jikazi gritted his teeth, swiped his left hand again, and severed another finger. His face turned pale as he stared at Wang Lin. Get lost. Wang Lin sneered. Jikazi immediately turned and left without looking back, turning into a long rainbow and vanishing into the sky. 100,000 miles away, Jikazi gritted his teeth and howled at the sky. Second generation vermilion bird. How can he still be alive? How can he still be on Vermilion Bird Star? How is that possible? The third generation vermilion bird plotted against him, bringing in cultivators from other realms, and this man didn't die. He continued to roar as he flew over Vermilion Bird Nation. Suddenly, his body halted, and he turned to look toward the direction of Pilla Kingdom. His expression shifted from anger to suspicion. Something's wrong. According to the records, the second generation vermilion bird's personality would never show mercy to me. Could it be that this person just woke up and was merely bluffing? Second generation vermilion bird. Zhu'er moved his body and flew toward Vermilion Bird Mountain. In the soul-refining sect of Pilla Kingdom, Wang Lin's figure wavered. Once he sensed that Zhu'er had left, his body trembled and he fell from midair. Dun Tian was startled and immediately rushed to catch Wang Lin. At that moment, Wang Lin's face was pale, his eyes tightly shut, and his face showed signs of pain. Dun Tian took a closer look, and suddenly, his expression changed dramatically as he exclaimed, "Soul seizing." Without hesitation, he bit his tongue and raised his right hand to point at Wang Lin's forehead, intending to help him resist the soul-seizing force. But just as his hand was about to land, Wang Lin's eyes snapped open. His eyes were stark black and white, no longer holding the slightest trace of defiance. "Senior, stop," Wang Lin said weakly. Dun Tian stared at Wang Lin and said in a low voice, "What exactly happened? You little brat were so reckless earlier, not understanding the gravity of the situation. If it had been me in my past temperament, I would have slapped you dead with one blow. Don't think just because your lifespan is severed, I can't make you feel your vitality slowly draining away." A wild voice came from Wang Lin's forehead. Immediately after, a cyan light flashed from his forehead, transforming into a tall figure beside him. This person was middle-aged, with a rough face and an extraordinarily robust build. As soon as he appeared, a powerful aura surged forth. The sky darkened. The impact of his aura caused the clouds to condense, lightning crackling within them, and raindrops began to fall from the sky. The middle-aged man looked up at the sky and roared, "Get out of my way. Did I tell you to rain?" With one roar, the sky's clouds instantly collapsed and dispersed, not a single raindrop falling. Dun Tian was shaken to his core. He stood frozen, speechless, watching the scene before him. Wang Lin forced a bitter smile and coughed lightly. Just before the Vermilion Bird fire arrived, he had already merged his primordial spirit with his body, achieving the infant metamorphosis style. However, he couldn't intervene in the battle between Zhu'er and Dun Tian. He had hidden inside the Heavenly Reversal Pearl to avoid the Vermilion Bird fire. Inside the Heavenly Reversal Pearl, Situ Nan had awakened. But just as Situ Nan awakened, though he exuded authority, he was still very weak. The two didn't have much time to catch up before Situ Nan sensed what was happening outside and entered Wang Lin's body, driving Zhu'er away. It must be said, Situ Nan's posturing was extremely impressive. When Zhu'er had to sever his own fingers, Wang Lin had been extremely nervous. On the other hand, Situ Nan was completely unbothered, just as defiant as ever. Later, Wang Lin had asked why he had let Zhu'er sever his fingers. Wasn't he worried about a potential backlash? Situ Nan's answer was, "Because I'm Situ Nan. You almost messed up my big plans, you little brat." What fourth soul? If that little bird brat had figured anything out, wouldn't I have to fall back asleep right after waking up today? As for the fourth soul, once I have a body and recover my cultivation, I'll just march up to Vermilion Bird Mountain and take it back. Situ Nan shot Dun Tian a glare. Dun Tian, having cultivated for over 1,000 years, had not been called little brat by anyone for a long time. Now, all he could do was laugh bitterly and say, "Senior, who are you?" Situ Nan looked up, full of arrogance, and said, "Wang Lin, tell this little brat who I am." Wang Lin smiled wryly and looked at Dun Tian. "He is Situ Nan." Situ Nan. Dun Tian thought for a long time but couldn't recall any powerful figure from ancient times to the present with that name. Second generation Vermilion Bird. Wang Lin added. Dun Tian's body trembled, and he took a few steps back, his eyes filled with an expression of utter shock and disbelief. He instantly understood why the Vermilion Bird Patriarch had been scared away by this person. The reputation of the second-generation Vermilion Bird was immense. In some respects, it had even surpassed that of the first-generation Vermilion Bird. After a moment, Dun Tian took a deep breath and bowed deeply to Situ Nan, saying respectfully, "I, Dun Tian of the Soul Refining Sect, pay my respects to Senior." Situ Nan nodded and said, "For your protection of Wang Lin and for sending out the Billion Soul banner, I will promise you that if the opportunity arises, I will help restore the Soul Refining Sect's legacy." A trace of nostalgia appeared in Situ Nan's eyes. This nostalgia was genuine, and he recalled his old friends from the Soul Refining Sect. If it hadn't been for their help during the war with the Outer Realm cultivators, he might not have even had the chance to hide in the Heavenly Reversal. A smile appeared on Dun Tian's face. His entire life had been dedicated to the Soul Refining Sect. It was his greatest attachment in this life. So before his lifespan ended, he spared no expense in befriending Wang Lin, placing great hopes on him. His goal was to leave a trace of the soul-refining sect's legacy behind. The arrival of the Vermilion Bird Patriarch had brought despair, but after twists and turns, between sorrow and joy, it was as if he had lived through different cycles of reincarnation. Now, with the second-generation Vermilion Bird personally promising to preserve the soul-refining sect's heritage, Dun Tian felt content. With a smile on his lips, he sat cross-legged on the ground and slowly closed his eyes. Senior brother, your prophecy has come true. I, Dun Tian, can now meet you with a smile. Meet Master. Meet the ancestors of past generations. I, Dun Tian, am not the center of the soul-refining sect. I have found new hope for the sect. I can see that in the future, the soul-refining sect will surpass even the 6th-grade cultivation nations. My name, Dun Tian, will be etched in the history of the soul-refining sect. Master, I have fulfilled my promise. In this life, I am willing to erase my consciousness and become the soul of the soul banner, smiling as I enter the 9 springs. On the Night Rain official road, robbers slaughtered, and in the midst of a sea of corpses, a young boy cried in the rain. A long sigh echoed, and an old man emerged from the rainy night. He gently patted the boy's head, offering a kind smile and saying only one sentence. Will you follow me? Within the soul-refining sect, the boy grew into a young man, gifted and talented, standing out among the disciples. All of this was for that one sentence from years ago. To follow in the footsteps of the old man, he cultivated fast and diligently, day after day, year after year, enduring the monotony of cultivation, comprehending the Tao, and reaching the spirit transformation realm. He finally became the old man's disciple and was given the Taoist title Dun Tian, staying by his side. Time passed like a song, and there came a moment when the song ended and the people scattered. When his master's soul entered the soul banner, he swore to protect the soul-refining sect with his life. All of this was for that one sentence from his youth. Will you follow me? Master, I have arrived. Dun Tian smiled, closing his eyes. The last trace of brightness slowly faded as he meditated into his final resting state. A purple-gold light shot out from his forehead, and suddenly the soul banner appeared in the void. With a shake, the purple-gold light entered the soul banner and vanished. Though the soul banner had lost a third of its soul essence, 10 primary souls, and the 4th soul, it was still the soul banner. This 3-zhangtal banner represented the Tao legacy of the soul-refining sect. It seemed almost alive, drifting towards Wang Lin. Wang Lin raised his right hand and grasped the soul banner, staring blankly at the smiling Dun Tian as his emotions became complex and melancholic. He silently knelt on the ground and kowtowed 3 times. Though you were not my master, you were like a master to me. I, Wang Lin, will never forget this lifetime. Wang Lin's eyes grew even more melancholic. To be precise, he hadn't spent much time with Dun Tian, but the kindness Dun Tian had shown him was forever engraved in his heart. Vermilion Bird Patriarch, for the destruction of the soul-refining sect, I, Wang Lin, will one day come for you. Wang Lin raised his head, staring towards the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, his eyes flashing with a cold light. A gust of wind blew, and Dun Tian's body slowly dissipated between heaven and earth. Everything about this person was erased as if he had never existed. Only in Wang Lin's memory would Dun Tian's figure remain. You were fortunate to meet him. It was your fate. He deserves to be remembered in your heart. Situ Nan sighed softly, his tone no longer arrogant but tinged with nostalgia, thinking of his old friend from years ago. What are your plans? Wang Lin remained silent for a while before asking Situ Nan. Situ Nan's gaze flickered, and his rebellious expression returned as he said, Of course, I'll find a body that matches my spiritual root. After I restore my cultivation, I'll go and kill those people one by one. If they die, then I'll vent my anger on their descendants. Situ Nan's personality had always been like this. In his earlier years, he continuously instilled in Wang Lin a mindset that was close to the demonic path. In fact, the reason Wang Lin became a ruthless killer was largely due to Situ Nan's guidance back then. Wang Lin nodded and said, The heavenly reversal pearl has already fused with my divine sense, and it can't be taken out. Before Wang Lin could continue, Situ Nan's eyes widened, and he shouted, Bullshit. Do you think I want that broken pearl? It's that pearl that's caused all this trouble for me. Even if you give it to me, I don't want it. Wang Lin looked at Situ Nan and softly said, Situ. What? Situ Nan rolled his eyes. Thank you. Situ Nan fell silent. In truth, he had suspected for some time that the heavenly reversal pearl was an incredibly rare treasure of the world. possibly even surpassing immortal treasures. Although he was wild and domineering, Situ Nan placed great importance on gratitude. When the first-generation vermilion bird had helped him, he gave up the chance to leave and chose to protect the vermilion bird star. The relationship between Wang Lin and him was more complicated, but the more so, the tighter their bond became. To Situ Nan, Wang Lin was like a disciple he had watched grow up. Thus, he could not take the heavenly reversal pearl. Situ Nan snorted and turned his head, saying, "If you want to thank me, find me a physical body. Wait here, let me see if there's a suitable body on Vermilion Bird Star. I may not be able to fight now, but my divine ability is still intact. Finding a suitable body will be as easy as flipping my hand." As he spoke, his eyes gleamed, and his divine sense swept across the area. "There's a disciple of the Vermilion Bird Patriarch named Qianfeng. His body should be quite good," Wang Lin said with a flash of insight. "A disciple of the Vermilion Bird Patriarch. Forget it, the first-generation Vermilion Bird owes me a favor. I won't intervene if you kill him, but if I were to kill him, that would be hard to justify." Why would there be such a body on Vermilion Bird Star? Interesting. Although this body belongs to a young boy, it's a top-tier body for soul seizing. Damn it, this boy's body is clearly prepared for soul seizing. Situ Nan's gaze shifted toward the extreme north, and his eyes lit up with excitement. Situ Nan's eyes gleamed, and he laughed loudly. "Good. I've set my sights on this boy's body. Wang Lin, let's go to the northern flaming extremity on Vermilion Bird Star. My future body is there right now." With that, he moved, soaring ahead. Wang Lin slapped his storage pouch, and the mosquito beast flew out with a shrill cry, landing in front of Wang Lin. Wang Lin jumped onto it, sitting cross-legged as he pursued Situ Nan. Situ Nan glanced back at the mosquito beast, his eyes lighting up. "What kind of demon beast is this? Where did you get it? I want to catch one for myself." Although the mosquito beast was typically domineering, it sensed the aura emanating from Situ Nan and immediately buzzed away, flying far off. Situ Nan's eyes narrowed, and his body flashed, landing beside Wang Lin, standing on the mosquito beast's back. He cursed, "What are you running for? I'm not going to eat you." The mosquito beast shuddered, looking back at Wang Lin with a pleading look in its eyes. Wang Lin smiled faintly, patted the mosquito beast's large head, and then reached into his storage pouch. He pulled out a jade slip, placed it against his forehead for a moment, and then tossed it to Situ Nan, saying, "If you dare to go there, you'll catch as many mosquito beasts as you want." Situ Nan took the jade slip, scanned it, and his expression immediately changed. He awkwardly said, "Forget it. I don't want it." The jade slip Wang Lin gave him contained memories of the ancient god 2C, which described an unfamiliar star domain filled with vast numbers of mosquito beasts. Even with Situ Nan's rebellious nature, after reading the contents of the jade slip, his mind trembled. He looked at the mosquito beast with a strange expression. "Wang Lin, how about we make a deal? After I get my new body, let me borrow this mosquito beast for some research. I promise I won't kill it, just study it for a while," Situ Nan said with a sly grin. "No," Wang Lin immediately refused without hesitation. Situ Nan grew anxious and said, "I really won't kill it. After I research it, it might even become stronger." "No," Wang Lin shook his head firmly. Situ Nan's eyes widened, glaring at Wang Lin, and shouted, "You little brat. No one ever dares to refuse me. When I took a liking to the first-generation Vermilion Bird's concubine, didn't I just take her? If I want something, no one can escape. You give it to me, or I'll slap you to death." Wang Lin looked at Situ Nan, silent, his gaze calm. After a long moment, Situ Nan let out a bitter laugh. "Why did I ever meet you? Sigh. Back in the day, when you were just a child, I helped adjust your body so you could cultivate. It was me who gave you the idea to learn the foundation seizing art. I saved you countless times, like when the Tung family kid was chasing you. Don't you remember? And outside Juming Valley, I risked my life to save you. And this is how you repay me? What a pity for my old age. Sigh. I don't ask for much. I just want to borrow a mosquito beast to study for a while." Wang Lin felt a headache coming on. If Situ Nan had been forceful, he wouldn't have been scared, but hearing Situ Nan's words struck a chord with him. After a moment, Wang Lin smiled bitterly, nodding helplessly. "Fine, I'll lend it to you, but just for a while." Situ Nan immediately wiped away the previous expression from his face, revealing a defiant look as he laughed heartily. "Now that's the person I was looking for. Good." After saying that, his gaze turned toward the mosquito beast, and a sinister smile appeared on his lips. The mosquito beast shuddered and nearly fell from the air, immediately letting out a screech. Sect Master Situ, are you familiar with the extreme realm? While flying, Wang Lin pondered for a moment before asking. Situ Nan's eyes narrowed, and he looked at Wang Lin, saying, the extreme realm from the 3 realms of extreme Dao? Why are you asking about that? Wang Lin looked at Situ Nan. If there was anyone in this world, besides Li Muan, whom he could trust completely, it would be Situ Nan. Wang Lin slapped his storage pouch, and a ball of white light, shaped like a sharp spike, appeared in his hand. This white light emanated an oppressive force like a heavenly calamity. Though this pressure wasn't very strong to Wang Lin, the material contained within was enough to obliterate any nascent soul cultivator who came into contact with it. Situ Nan let out a surprised sound, took the white light from Wang Lin, and scrutinized it closely. His face immediately changed. He quickly scanned the surroundings with his divine sense and then grabbed the white light, slapping it into Wang Lin's storage pouch. He even broke through Wang Lin's divine sense, directly placing the white light inside. How do you have the extreme realm? Situ Nan exclaimed in shock. Back in Juming Valley, a trace of the extreme realm appeared inside me. At that time, you were in deep slumber, so you didn't notice. Later, when my body shattered and you saved me, you fell back into slumber. When I left the outer domain battlefield, the extreme realm in my divine sense grew to maturity, Wang Lin said slowly. The extreme realm is a very domineering substance. I haven't studied it much, but I know that the Cultivation Alliance is always searching for cultivators with the extreme realm. Once discovered, they are immediately erased. You must remember, this thing cannot be exposed to anyone, especially Vermilion Bird Patriarch. Situ Nan's expression turned extremely serious. Wang Lin nodded, remaining silent for a moment before speaking. I suspect this extreme realm has something to do with your Yellow Springs Ascension art. Situ Nan froze for a moment, stroked his chin, and said, now that you mention it, it does seem possible, but there must be some unknown reason behind this. Otherwise, why wouldn't I have the extreme realm? As far as I know, the appearance of the extreme realm is extremely rare, and cultivating it is very difficult. It's not worth the trouble. But you've managed to take it out without being affected by it. That's quite rare. Situ Nan's eyes revealed admiration. Situ, I've heard that the star cultivation crystal can evolve the extreme realm. Is that true? What exactly is this star cultivation crystal? Wang Lin's eyes flashed as he asked a question that had been buried in his heart for hundreds of years. You know about the star cultivation crystal? Situ Nan's expression became complicated. He sighed deeply and said, the star cultivation crystal. It's not a good thing. But if you want to leave Vermilion Bird Star, you'll really need to obtain it. Otherwise, it'll become a hidden danger later. Sigh. The Star Cultivation Crystal is the Cultivation Alliance's most sinister tool for controlling the cultivation stars. Situ Nan was about to continue explaining when his gaze suddenly shifted toward the distance. We'll talk about this later. Up ahead, the Immortal Remnant clan is performing a ritual to honor their ancestral spirit. Let me think for a moment. I remember that the first-generation Vermilion Bird once researched a divine ability that could draw strange powers from the ancestral spirit tree of the Immortal Remnant clan. Old age is catching up to me. My memory is fading, but I think that's how it went. Wang Lin, give me a piece of immortal jade. Wang Lin glanced at the distance, then slapped his storage pouch and took out a piece of immortal jade, handing it to Situ Nan. Situ Nan took it, inhaled deeply, and the immortal jade immediately shattered into dust. His eyes flashed with immortal power as he said, when the first-generation Vermilion Bird researched this divine ability, he said it had a fatal flaw. But for me, this flaw, though troublesome, should be avoidable. Wang Lin, wait for me here. I'll be right back. With that, he disappeared in a flash. When Situ Nan appeared and confronted Vermilion Bird Patriarch earlier, the entire Vermilion Bird Star was immediately aware of the powerful and rebellious aura. A white-haired elder appeared in the eastern sky of Vermilion Bird Kingdom. He was none other than the only early-stage ascendant cultivator from the Heavenly Jade sect, Chu Yunfei. At this moment, his expression fluctuated between dark and light. After a moment, he sighed softly and murmured to himself, such a strong aura. He shook his head slightly, his gaze turning eastward, revealing a hint of coldness, before continuing to fly. Behind him were several dozen cultivators, most of whom were in the spirit transformation stage, with only 3 at the infant metamorphosis stage. In the southern sky of Vermilion Bird Continent, a cultivator army of several hundred was flying toward the south at incredible speed. Leading them was a middle-aged man, the early-stage ascendant cultivator from the Earth Soul sect. At this moment, he gazed toward the location of Situ Nan, shook his head with a wry smile, and thought to himself, what bad luck. Of all the times, I had to run into such a chaotic period. The Vermilion Bird Patriarch returned to Vermilion Bird Mountain. After a brief rest, he immediately set off again, this time heading westward across the Vermilion Bird Continent. In the eastern part of the Vermilion Bird Continent, within the dense black mist, the fifth ancestor of the Immortal Remnant clan, with a somber expression, retracted his gaze. The elder Sema of the Corpsine sect, standing in front of him, naturally could not detect any change in the aura when Situ Nan had appeared, given his cultivation level. However, upon seeing the fifth ancestor's grim expression, he couldn't help but feel a surge of curiosity. He was about to test the situation when the fifth ancestor flicked his sleeve and coldly said, Elder Sema, begin. Elder Sema's gaze flickered imperceptibly, and he laughed heartily, saying, all right, the reason I'm here is to deliver this corpse. I hope it can help nourish the ancestral spirit tree of your immortal remnant clan and make it even more flourishing. As he spoke, he glanced back at the two corpse guardian deacons behind him. Without a word, the two deacons leapt off the massive coffin, sitting cross-legged on the ground. Their hands swiftly formed a series of strange hand seals, and beams of spiritual light shot out from their palms, landing on the coffin. After a moment, the two deacons emitted an eerie ghostly glow from their bodies and simultaneously shouted, open. A loud creaking sound, like the friction of massive wood, came from the coffin. The lid of the coffin, which was several tens of feet in size, slowly began to move, tilting to one side, revealing a gap that widened more and more. A black mist began to seep out, accompanied by the rancid smell of decay. The fifth ancestor of the Immortal Remnant clan, at this moment, maintained a calm gaze, staring at the coffin without moving. However, the 3 8-leaf spellcasters behind him wore tense expressions, silently on guard. Rise, the two corpse guardian deacons shouted again in unison. The coffin lid seemed to be pushed open by an invisible hand, crashing to the ground with a loud bang. At this moment, the black mist grew thicker, pouring out of the coffin in waves, as if it intended to envelop the entire coffin. Is this the corpse you speak of? The fifth ancestor of the Immortal Remnant clan asked coldly. Elder Sema grinned and said, my lord, please do not blame me. This is a matter that was ordered from above. The corpse itself was decided by the higher-ups, and I have no authority to interfere. However, my Corpsine sect has very few giant demon clan corpses in the infant metamorphosis stage here on Vermilion Bird Star. This one was transferred from another cultivation star. The other 4, I believe, have already been delivered to your Immortal Remnant clan's location.